In the studio with me from Brockville Pride, I'm talking with the chairperson, Nicole Croteau. Nicole, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, hey, it's our pleasure. How long have you been a member of the Brockville Pride?
I have been a member since 2021, but I have been volunteering with them for a little bit beforehand in 2020.
Now, Brockville Pride actually started in 2010, did it not?
It did. Brockville Pride started with social activism at its core. In the early 2000s, there was a lot of anti-2S LGBTQ rhetoric around the community.
Yes.
And so individuals banded together to form a safe space, support, and just community in Brockville.
Wow. So why did you join? To help advocate for these individuals, or why? Why did you join?
Yeah, so I moved into the area in November of 2019, and I didn't really know where to go.
Okay.
I didn't really know where my people were or what to do.
Yeah.
And so I started reaching out and found Brockville Pride and saw how amazing it was. And my area of study is more in childhood development and
Yes.
I knew the importance of finding community. And so I reached out to Brockville Pride, said, hey, can I help out and volunteer? And it just rolled from there.
And here you are, chairperson.
And here I am.
Okay, so you had mentioned that Brockville Pride actually addressed advocacy and inclusion and
Yeah.
things of this nature. So how often do you actually meet as a group?
So on our board, we meet once a month, but we're constantly in communication.
Yes.
In terms of our community, there's a youth program every Tuesday from 5:30 to 7 at the Brockville Public Library. And there are events every so often. So this past weekend, we just had a community dinner where 30 individuals came to eat dinner, get together, and chat and just learn more about one another.
So would you reach out to people like in Kingston and in Ottawa and the surrounding areas to see what they are doing, or if they have programs that, you might adopt?
Yeah, we actually have something called the Rural Pride Network, and it stems from Gananoque all the way to Carleton Place,
Okay.
Where we band together and we have meetings and we talk about what works in their rural communities and we
Yes.
bring it into our rural communities.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it's awesome. North Grenville Pride actually was the kind of spearing force for it, and they're awesome.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm going to ask you to tell us what this means, okay? Because
Yeah.
you know what I'm going to say. 'Cause holy moly, it is long.
It's a long acronym.
2SLBGTQIA plus. Did I get it?
Yeah, 2S LGBTQIA+.
Okay, so
It's a mouthful.
break it down for me, please.
Yeah, so 2S stands for Two-Spirit Individuals.
Okay.
And we put it at the beginning of our acronym to pay homage to Indigenous people in our community.
Yes.
So 2SL stands for lesbian. 2SLG stands for gay. In the beginning, it used to mean a man who was interested sexually, romantically in another man.
Oh, yes.
But now it's kind of developed into a universal term. So you might hear someone say, oh, I'm gay. And it just kind of means more of an umbrella term. Yeah.
Okay.
So 2SLGB stands for bisexual. 2SLGBT stands for transgender.
Okay.
Q stands for queer or questioning. I stands for intersex.
Yes.
And A stands for asexual.
And so the plus on the end just is everybody else.
Yeah, it encompasses everybody.
Okay.
It means you're in between, you're none. It's kind of just we're including everybody.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. When did you realize that you wanted to be valued as who you were and not by like a gender, saying, oh, she's a female, that's a male, and et cetera, et cetera. When did you realize?
Yeah. From a young age, I think I was very privileged to grow up in a really big city. I grew up in Toronto.
Yes.
And went to school in Ottawa. And then the world shut down, and I was in North Augusta during the pandemic.
Oh.
And I was very fortunate to meet my wife during this time. And she comes from a very, very small town on the opposite side of Cornwall. And we were just talking about our histories and what it meant to grow up. And growing up, I was surrounded by diversity in all aspects of the word: racial diversity, sexual diversity, gender diversity.
Yes.
And my wife was not. She was one of the first out lesbians in her community, and we kind of talked about what activism meant to her and what it means in Brockville. And as I was looking more into my research in school, and I was working on a thesis on 2S LGBTQ representation and resources in school systems.
Right.
And how it kind of balances it out when we, show kids literature on, same-sex families and what it means to have two moms or two dads. Mm-hmm. And I realized that a lot of our, beings as a human are very socially constructed. So, what I grew up with is very different than what my partner grew up with.
Oh, yes.
And we're both very valued in our, experiences. And so that kind of got me thinking more about what it means to be in the community and what gender means and what sexuality means. And everyone just needs to be loved.
Well, that's true. Accepted.
Yes.
Accepted as who they are. I know I had a brother who was gay, and we lived in a rural area, very small area, and they actually shot at him.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that was, of course, this was years ago. Like, this was way back into the 70s and 60s and 70s. So it was not accepted. They did not want him around them.
No.
And so he did end up going to the big city in Montreal and found happiness there. Awesome. But yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and my mom grew up with someone named Paul, and Paul was one of the big activists on Church Street in Toronto, and he would share his stories about, there would be hate crimes going on even in the big city.
Yes.
And police would not do anything about it because the social climate at the time was very reserved to assisting LGBTQ individuals. Yeah. So it was almost like they needed to take the stand and protect their own community.
You're right. And now it's a lot better.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. So, have you found that Brockville is more accepting of this community of the gays and the lesbians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
I can't name them all.
No, that's okay. I think that the Brockville community has grown a lot since 2010 and the early 2000s. Okay. In the same breath, I think that there is still a little bit more ways to go.
There's always a ways to go. Yeah.
Yeah. When I think about the activism that we do in the community, there are still kiddos that cannot come out at home because they will be kicked out and they face homelessness. And this is happening in our community in our current day. So there's still a little bit of ways to go. But we're really working hard on advocating and educating. I think a big point is education, right?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Do you have something for parents? Like, can parents come to your meetings?
Yes. So there is an organization called PFLAG in Brockville, and we have a chapter.
Yes.
I believe it used to stand for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, but they've kind of squashed that acronym, and now it's just PFLAG.
Okay.
And it's a parent support group, an ally support group, and there are 2 meetings a month in Brockville. There's an online meeting the second Wednesday of the month, and then there's an in-person meeting the last Wednesday of the month. And for more information on that, anybody can go to Brockville PFLAG on Facebook, or the PFLAG national website will have all of our information as well.
So they can just Google and if they don't,
Yeah.
they can Google it. So the resources for the parents, and I think it is very, very important that they do see both sides of everything.
Yeah.
And then make their own decision as to how they are going to accept it, because it's here.
It is here.
It's not going away.
No, we're here and we're staying.
So let's talk about in the schools. How what are you doing for the schools and those individuals that are going to school, but yet they have not come out yet and they want to, and they're just suffering?
Yeah, so a really big initiative that happened 2 years ago with Brockville Pride is we created the community outreach position, and it really targeted schools. A member from Brockville Pride went to all the schools, emailed them, but also sat in with principals and talked about different resources that were accessible, and became a familiar face in the community. Our biggest
obstacle?
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry.
No, our biggest obstacle is just targeting those kiddos that don't feel safe enough to come to a teacher or an adult or a peer, right? So same thing with PFLAG. You have parents that want to come to these meetings.
Yes.
But our biggest issue is, how do we target the individuals that don't want to come to these or that don't feel comfortable coming to these? So having representation in school systems. So literature, books, public speakers that are outwardly LGBTQ, where people can see themselves in these speakers and in this, children's books. Having things accessible. So a little bit ago, libraries were facing a really big issue with individuals taking their LGBTQ books and then destroying them. Really big. But I will say the Brockville Public Library is absolutely amazing. You can talk to any employee there and they will guide you in the right direction for an LGBTQ book. They're the best. And so targeting schools, making sure that there's representation, and reaching out to guidance counselors saying that if you do ever need support, we're here.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, good for you. Good for you. So, as chairperson, what is your hope for 2024? What do you want to see happen in this community in 2024?
I would love for our Pride Week to be full of glitter and rainbows.
But it is huge now.
Yes, it is. I want it bigger. I want everybody who doesn't feel safe to come out to come out. And ways that we're doing that is having more community dinners and more community events, housing trivia, karaoke nights, having queer and trans comedians come in and have fun, comedy nights.
Yes, of course.
A really big event that we're hoping to kind of spearhead this year is a public speaking event that highlights queer and trans voices. A lot of the times in academia and in books, there's kind of this narrative on queer and trans people that, we're sad, we're depressed, we're not, able to fulfill all the goals of life. And that's not the case. We're happy, we're here. And although, there are stats that show that, depression and anxiety rates can really, be high, we're here and we just want a sense of community. And so that's what we're really trying to work on this year and highlight those voices in a positive way. And
you people are going to be busy.
Yes, busy is good.
Busy is good. Keeps people out of mischief. So what is your website if people want to go to it?
Yeah, it's www.brockvillepride.com.
Thank you very much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks, Nicole.